So after all the big changes from WrestleMania weekend, we've kind of gone through a little bit of a cool down period. A lot of filler matches, not much story development, and a huge chunk of the division has been off TV entirely. So before I get into everything, I want to address another problem real quickly. Omar has been ranting about WWE catering to the smarks, and one of the points that he made was that WWE no longer needs to put any effort into anything that they do anymore, because all it takes to please the smarks is to make their favorites look good. And I want to expand a little bit on that rant, because that's something that's actually happening to the women's division right now. Now, for the last couple of years, the Diva community has become infested with a bunch of bandwagon fans that never actually cared about the division. These are the ones that have always believed that the biggest problem with the division was the word Diva. They're the ones that believe that every problem with the division could be solved by firing everyone that they hate and replacing them with the handful of women who they do like. They're the same ones that have been calling the Divas division a piss break for years, but now all of a sudden want to pretend like they're the biggest pro-feminist in the world just because now it's cool to be a fan of women's wrestling. Shut the fucking shit down! So what my concern is that with WWE now starting to cater to the bandwagoners, they're not going to actually address any of the real problem with the division. Instead, they think that by changing the name, giving them a new title, and telling us how great the division is, that they solved all the problems, because that's what the bandwagoners are telling them. The thing about the real fans is we can see through all the aesthetics. Aside from the material changes, are the feuds any better than last year? Are there less filler matches than there were before? Are they getting more TV time overall? Are there less jobbers and more relevant stars in the division today? The only real differences between this year and last year are the faces, and that's all the bandwagoners care about. They don't care about substance. All they care about is who is in the spotlight, and that's what the problem is. The people who care the least about the division are the ones dictating the direction of the division. They're the ones that chanted, "We want Sasha," during Natalya's match with Emma this week, because they don't care whether the other women succeed or not. What they care about is whether their favorites succeed. And because WWE is starting to give into that mentality that all they have to do to make the fans happy is to push the horsewomen and revolve the division around what great wrestlers they are, it's giving them excuses to be lazy with how they handle the rest of the division. So Charlotte will defend the title against Natalya this Sunday at Ryback. Unfortunately for Natalya, it's obvious that Charlotte isn't going to drop the title until at least SummerSlam. But at this point, I think that idea would only hinder the division even further, because it's obvious that the goal for her is to drop the title to Sasha Banks or possibly even Becky Lynch. But WWE wants to keep Sasha and Becky away from Charlotte until then. So that basically means that everything up until Charlotte drops the title is just going to be filler, because every feud involving Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky is just going to be a stepping stone for them until they eventually meet each other again. On one hand, at least you can tell there's a long-term strategy and that they're going to do everything possible to protect the horsewomen. But on the other hand, if WWE tells us that these are the only three women that we should care about, does that really help the division overall? Because the effect that we're seeing right now is now whenever none of those three are in a segment, the fans are going to chant their names anyway, because WWE doesn't give them a reason to care about any of the other women. Because sure, we'll get plenty of good matches, but building the division solely around the fact that they're women who can have good matches isn't really progress. I've been saying this from the very beginning, but I want a division that works for everyone, not just the 1% and corporate interest. Aside from Charlotte versus Natalya, there's also been a side feud between Becky Lynch and Emma going on YouTube. And that's part of the reason why I think the women's division is one of the few things that would actually benefit from the return of the brand split. So small feuds like this, outside of the title picture, can get the proper spotlight that they deserve. They've even been teasing a feud between Summer Rae and Sasha Banks, where Summer Rae even dropped another pipe bomb and pretty much echoed everything that I've been saying. It's small feuds like this that can really help build up the division a little bit more, but it's rare that WWE is able to commit to more than one or two of them at a time. So on to NXT. This episode also marked the debut of Aliyah. I've talked about her potential in other videos before, and this match showed a pretty good example of just what she's capable of. She showed attitude, she showed athletic ability, and she showed off some unique offense. She definitely looked like she belonged in that ring, and based off Breaking Ground, it looks like they have some pretty big plans for her too. So The Miz and Maryse have been dominating Raw as the most must-see superstars in the company, because really, when you look at all the other boring, uncharismatic jobbers taking up screen time on Raw nowadays, you're thankful whenever real superstars like The Miz and Maryse grace us with their awesomeness. WWE recently did a poll asking which couple people want to see challenge Miz and Maryse in the future. And now that I think about it, I think this makes perfect sense. I think the perfect thing to do with The Miz right now would be to keep the title on him until both John Cena and Nikki Bella are able to make a return. Because it makes perfect sense for John Cena to go after the Intercontinental title to try to do the same thing with it that he did with the United States Championship. Plus, Nikki Bella versus Maryse is a dream feud, and it makes perfect sense to give Nikki Bella a chance to get redemption on Maryse for ending her 614-day undefeated streak in 2010. That's right, Nikki Bella holds the longest undefeated streak in women's wrestling history. Now I know Triple H is trying his damnedest to give Sasha that moniker, but unfortunately for Sasha, she'll never be able to catch up to that because she's already been pinned this year. They'll probably try to hide that fact, but officially, you can only claim to be undefeated if you only lose by countout or DQ. Sasha's actually been pinned. So, unfortunately for Sasha, she will never catch up to Nikki's record, and Nikki will always be better, hold better records, be a better wrestler, be more sexy. Sasha will never be able to catch up to Nikki Bella's greatness, no matter how hard she tries in her life.